Milton Hafford was a well-respected figure in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, known for his affable nature and dedication to his work. At 42, he was the manager of a local Ace hardware store, where he not only excelled in his professional life, but also built strong relationships with his coworkers and customers. Milton's journey hadn't been easy. He had experienced profound loss when his first wife, Millie, succumbed to breast cancer after a prolonged battle. Milton and Millie's relationship was the envy of many, rooted in mutual respect and deep love. He supported her through countless treatments, always prioritizing her needs over his own. Their home became a sanctuary during her illness, filled with laughter, even in the face of adversity. However, as Millie's health deteriorated, so did Milton's emotional and financial stability. He spent his savings and took out loans to cover her medical expenses, burying himself in debt that would haunt him long after her death. 3 years after Millie's passing, Milton was still grappling with grief. Friends from the church described him as a man transformed by sorrow, often lost in his thoughts and struggling to find joy in life. His days were filled with work, but his nights were spent alone, haunted by memories of the woman he loved. That was until he met Tara, who brought a spark of hope back into his life. Tara, a 37-year-old former military officer, met Milton at a community event for veterans in early 2012. From their first conversation, Milton was drawn to her strength, charisma, and the unique experiences she shared from her time in Afghanistan. The two bonded over their shared sense of loss and the difficulties of reintegrating into everyday life after significant trauma. Their relationship blossomed quickly, surprising many of Milton's friends who had grown accustomed to his solitude. By summer, they were engaged, and in the fall, they married in a modest ceremony surrounded by family and friends. For a brief period, it seemed like Milton had found a new lease on life. Tara appeared to fill the void left by Millie, and her energetic personality reignited Milton's passion for life. However, not everyone was supportive. Milton's son, Brad, a 23-year-old struggling to make his mark in the family business, was particularly skeptical of his father's new wife. He resented how quickly Milton had moved on and felt overshadowed by Tara's presence. Tensions simmered between father and son, complicated by Brad's feelings of neglect and frustration over his stalled career. Milton's decision to remarry created an emotional rift that would only widen as events unfolded. On the afternoon of August 21st, 2012, Cedar Rapids was abuzz with excitement as families flocked to the municipal water park to enjoy the last days of summer. Among the attendees was Milton Hafford, who decided to take a break from his daily routine and spend quality time with Tara. The park's most popular attraction, the Thunder Plunge, was known for its height and thrilling descent, drawing long lines of eager riders. Milton, feeling adventurous, decided to take the plunge. Little did he know that a horrific accident awaited him. As he zoomed down the slide, an almost invisible wire had been maliciously stretched across the slide's exit. When Milton hit the water, the wire sliced through his neck with brutal precision, decapitating him instantly. Witnesses reported a commotion as a lifeguard, Sarah Gibbons, first spotted Milton's body floating lifelessly in the shallow pool. Panic ensued, and the park was evacuated as paramedics rushed to the scene. What was initially believed to be a freak accident quickly transformed into a chilling crime scene. The gruesome nature of Milton's death left onlookers traumatized, with many unable to comprehend the brutality of such a tragedy unfolding in a place meant for fun and relaxation. In the immediate aftermath of Milton Hafford's tragic death, Cedar Rapids was gripped by shock and confusion. Initial reports from the water park indicated a freak accident, but the gruesome nature of Milton's demise prompted law enforcement to dig deeper. Investigators arrived at the scene to secure evidence and gather witness statements, beginning a meticulous investigation into what would soon be classified as a homicide. Detectives quickly focused on the area around the Thunder Plunge slide. Eyewitness accounts described a chaotic scene, parents screaming, children crying, and lifeguards rushing to pull Milton from the water. As emergency personnel attended to the chaos, investigators began combing through the evidence. The wire used to decapitate Milton was a chilling piece of evidence, seemingly placed with malicious intent. Authorities examined the park's surveillance footage, searching for any signs of suspicious activity prior to the incident. Hours of video were painstakingly reviewed, capturing glimpses of park-goers, but one frame stood out. A hooded figure lingered near the slide, just moments before Milton's tragic plunge, their actions shrouded in mystery. Investigators also reached out to friends and family, keen to understand Milton's recent relationships and any potential conflicts in his life. Milton's coworkers described him as a dedicated manager and kind-hearted person, while his son Brad expressed his growing concern over Tara's influence on his father. This revelation raised eyebrows. Brad was increasingly vocal about his unease regarding Tara's quick transition into the family. Tensions between father and son became a focal point, hinting at underlying motives and potential grievances. As the investigation progressed, detectives began to scrutinize Tara more closely. Initially, she appeared cooperative, expressing disbelief at the tragedy. But as questions about her whereabouts during the incident surfaced, her story began to waver. Detectives discovered that Tara had been at the park on the day of the incident, and she had an opportunity to tamper with the slide. The inconsistencies in her account of the events led investigators to suspect that she might be hiding something more sinister. The deeper authorities dug into Tara Hafford's life, the more complicated her story became. Tara had successfully crafted a new identity after her transition from Derek, but it was a fragile facade. She had spent years in the military and had undergone significant medical procedures to align her body with her true self. While this journey had brought her personal fulfillment, it had also created layers of secrecy. To many, Tara was a brave veteran who had served her country, but beneath that surface lay a troubled past. The transition had not been easy. Tara faced rejection from some family members and struggled with feelings of inadequacy. Her marriage to Milton initially offered her a sense of acceptance, but the truth of her past loomed like a dark cloud. As investigators continued their probe, they discovered that Tara had been in touch with a small circle of friends who were aware of her transition. Some had provided emotional support, while others had expressed concern about her relationship with Milton. Additionally, Tara's interactions with Brad were scrutinized. Reports surfaced that she had confided in him about her past, revealing details that could prove damaging if made public. The fear of rejection and shame became key motivators in Tara's actions, creating a toxic cocktail of emotions that would influence her decisions in the wake of Milton's death. In her interrogations, Tara maintained her innocence, insisting that she loved Milton and would never harm him. However, as the investigation unraveled her hidden life, her credibility began to erode, leading detectives to question whether her love was genuine or merely a mask for something far more sinister. As investigators sought to piece together the intricacies of Tara's life, they uncovered the existence of her half-sister, Tiffany Hughes. Tiffany, 39, had a notorious reputation in Cedar Rapids for her erratic behavior, largely fueled by substance abuse issues. The sisters had a complicated relationship marked by a series of conflicts over the years. Tiffany was known to be manipulative, using her charm to extract favors or money from family members and friends. Her lifestyle choices had landed her in legal trouble multiple times, leading to a series of short stints in jail. She had always resented Tara for having the courage to transition and live authentically, feelings which only intensified as Tara married Milton and seemingly found happiness. During the investigation, police discovered that Tiffany had been in contact with Tara shortly before Milton's death. There were allegations that Tiffany had been pressuring Tara for money, threatening to expose her past if she didn't comply. This information painted Tiffany as a potential accomplice, someone who could have had a motive to hurt Milton out of spite or jealousy. Detectives followed this lead, interviewing friends of Tiffany who expressed concern over her volatile behavior. It became clear that Tiffany was desperate for cash and had been known to resort to extreme measures to get what she wanted. The possibility that she could have influenced Tara's actions, perhaps even incited a plan against Milton, was troubling for investigators. This new angle raised critical questions about familial loyalty and the lengths to which Tiffany might go to settle scores. As they gathered more evidence, detectives began to explore the possibility that Tiffany had either participated in the murder or incited Tara to commit the act, leveraging her sister's vulnerabilities against her. The investigation took an explosive turn when detectives uncovered evidence of an illicit affair between Tara and her stepson, Brad. The affair began shortly after Tara married Milton, stemming from both individuals' emotional turmoil. Brad, feeling overshadowed by his father's new life, found solace in Tara, while Tara sought comfort in Brad's youthful energy and understanding of her struggles. Detectives obtained text messages and social media communications that revealed the depth of their relationship. The messages ranged from flirtatious exchanges to confessions of love, indicating that their bond had evolved into a passionate affair. Brad expressed feelings of guilt, torn between loyalty to his father and his growing affection for Tara. This revelation complicated the narrative surrounding Milton's death. It introduced a significant motive for both Tara and Brad. They feared that the affair would be discovered, leading to the potential destruction of both their lives. The investigation team wondered whether the relationship had influenced the decision to murder Milton, particularly as tensions within the family escalated. Witnesses from the community, including family, friends, and coworkers, provided testimony about the noticeable shift in Brad's demeanor after his father remarried. They noted that Brad had become increasingly withdrawn and irritable, leading to speculation that his emotional state was linked to the affair. As the affair was scrutinized, investigators contemplated how it might have culminated in a deadly confrontation. Was Tara's motivation to silence Milton driven by love, fear, or a combination of both? The detectives believed that understanding this twisted relationship would be crucial in unraveling the truth behind the tragic incident. Tara's military history came under closer examination as the investigation unfolded. She had served with distinction, completing 2 tours in Afghanistan as part of a logistical support unit. While her military training provided her with valuable skills, it also highlighted her ability to think strategically and operate under pressure. Attributes that would prove significant in the context of the investigation. Authorities began to connect the dots between Tara's military experience and the precise method used to kill Milton. The wire that decapitated him had been set with alarming accuracy, suggesting that the act was premeditated and calculated. Investigators wondered if Tara's training had equipped her with the knowledge of how to execute such a plan. In court documents and interviews, several of Tara's former military colleagues described her as a determined individual who had excelled in her role. However, they also noted her struggles with identity and mental health, which were compounded by her military experiences. The trauma of combat, coupled with the challenges of transitioning, created a complex psychological profile that investigators believed could be relevant to understanding her motivations. The military background added another layer to the narrative. Did Tara see Milton as an obstacle to her newfound identity and happiness? The investigation team pondered whether her training had turned her into a skilled manipulator, able to navigate both military operations and personal relationships with precision. On September 1st, 2012, Tara's desperation peaked. Following days of intense scrutiny from investigators and mounting evidence against her, she made a bold decision to flee Cedar Rapids. The fear of impending arrest pushed her to act swiftly. In the early morning hours, she gathered a few personal belongings and packed her car, preparing to leave everything behind. As she drove through the early morning haze, Tara felt a mix of adrenaline and panic. Her heart raced as she considered the consequences of her actions. Would she be able to escape the life she had constructed, or was she simply delaying the inevitable? Her destination was unclear, but she had set her sights on Canada, hoping to start anew far away from the turmoil that enveloped her. However, her plan unraveled quickly. Law enforcement had been monitoring her movements, anticipating that she might attempt to flee. Within hours of her departure, an all-points bulletin was issued, alerting nearby police departments to keep an eye out for her vehicle. While driving through Minnesota, Tara's reckless behavior caught the attention of local law enforcement. Officers attempted to pull her over, but instead of complying, Tara sped away, leading them on a high-speed chase that lasted several miles. She swerved through traffic, desperately trying to evade capture. The chase ended dramatically when police deployed spike strips, puncturing Tara's tires. Her vehicle lost control, careening off the road and into a ditch. As officers approached the wreckage, Tara exited the car, visibly shaken but defiant. She was quickly apprehended and taken into custody, her flight to freedom cut short. As the trial of Tara Hafford commenced, it captured the attention of the Cedar Rapids community and beyond. The courtroom was packed with reporters, family members, and curious onlookers, all eager to witness the unfolding drama of a case that had shaken the community to its core. The stakes were high. Tara faced the possibility of life in prison for the murder of her husband, Milton Hafford. The trial began with opening statements from both the prosecution and the defense. The prosecutor, a seasoned attorney with a reputation for being tough on crime, framed Tara as a calculating individual who had orchestrated Milton's murder out of fear and desperation. She highlighted the damning evidence: the wire used to decapitate Milton, the recorded phone calls and text messages between Tara and Brad that hinted at a motive driven by jealousy and betrayal. The prosecutor asserted that Tara had not only betrayed Milton, but had also betrayed the trust of her family, leading to a horrific act that culminated in tragedy. In contrast, Tara's defense attorney painted a very different picture. He argued that Tara had been a loving wife, trapped in a tumultuous marriage marked by emotional distress. He claimed that she had been the victim of Milton's controlling nature, struggling to cope with the pressure of maintaining a facade while facing her own identity issues. The defense sought to portray Tara's actions as a response to prolonged emotional abuse rather than premeditated murder, insisting that she never intended to harm Milton. The prosecution presented a series of witnesses to build their case. Friends and family of Milton testified about his devotion to his family and his love for Tara. They painted a portrait of a man who had worked hard to create a life filled with joy and connection, only to be betrayed by the very people he trusted. The emotional impact of their testimonies resonated throughout the courtroom, evoking sympathy for the victim and outrage at the betrayal. In a crucial moment, Brad took the stand. His testimony was fraught with tension as he recounted the affair with Tara, admitting to the courtroom that he had fallen in love with her, but deeply regretted the pain it had caused his father. The defense attempted to paint Brad's relationship with Tara as one of mutual affection, but the prosecution used it to argue that the affair had motivated Tara to eliminate Milton. The defense then called on several expert witnesses, including a psychologist who assessed Tara's mental health. The psychologist described the profound effects of trauma on Tara, noting that her military background and the pressures of her transition had likely contributed to her fragile state of mind. This line of testimony aimed to establish a narrative of Tara as a troubled soul, struggling with her identity and seeking love and acceptance, which ultimately spiraled out of control. As the trial reached its conclusion, both sides delivered powerful closing arguments. The prosecutor reiterated the evidence of premeditation, emphasizing that Tara's military training equipped her with the skills necessary to execute the plan to kill Milton. She painted a chilling picture of Tara as a woman who had used her knowledge to commit an unthinkable act, driven by fear of losing her newfound identity and love for Brad. The defense countered by appealing to the jury's emotions, urging them to consider the complexity of Tara's situation. They argued that she had acted out of desperation, overwhelmed by the toxic dynamics in her marriage. They asked the jury to look beyond the evidence and consider Tara's humanity, stressing that she had never intended to murder Milton. After a tense deliberation, the jury returned with a verdict. The courtroom held its breath as the foreman read the decision: guilty of first-degree murder. A wave of emotion surged through the room, with Milton's family breaking down in tears, while Tara sat in stunned silence, her fate sealed. The judge scheduled the sentencing hearing for several weeks later, allowing both sides time to prepare for their final statements regarding punishment. Milton's family delivered emotional impact statements, sharing the devastation wrought by his death and the void left in their lives. During the sentencing phase, the prosecution argued for the maximum penalty, emphasizing the brutality of the crime and the premeditated nature of the murder. They highlighted how Tara had betrayed not only Milton, but also the sanctity of marriage, family, and trust. The defense pleaded for leniency, citing Tara's traumatic past, her struggles with identity, and her military service. They argued that sending her to prison for life would not serve justice. Instead, it would rob society of a woman who could contribute positively if given help and support. In a heartbreaking moment, Tara addressed the court. Her voice trembling, she expressed remorse for Milton's death, calling it a tragedy that should never have happened. She insisted that she had loved him and never intended to cause harm. Ultimately, the judge sentenced Tara to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The ruling resonated in the courtroom, with mixed emotions among the spectators. Some viewed the sentence as a necessary measure of justice, while others lamented the loss of life and the profound complexities of the human experience that led to such a tragedy. The trial of Tara Hafford left an indelible mark on Cedar Rapids and beyond, illuminating the intricate web of relationships, identity struggles, and the dark path some individuals may tread when faced with personal crises. Milton Hafford's tragic death reverberated through the community, prompting discussions about love, loyalty, and the fragility of human connections. Milton was remembered as a dedicated father and husband whose life was cut short by betrayal. His family rallied to honor his memory, advocating for mental health awareness and support for individuals struggling with their identity. They hoped that by sharing their story, they could help others avoid the tragic fate that befell Milton. Tara's story serves as a complex narrative about the challenges faced by transgender individuals and the emotional turmoil that can arise from societal rejection and personal conflict. While her actions were ultimately condemned, many recognized the psychological toll of her struggles, underscoring the need for compassion and understanding in discussions surrounding gender identity and mental health. In the wake of the trial, the community sought to heal, grappling with the haunting memories of a life lost and the questions that lingered about love, acceptance, and the darkness that can lie beneath the surface. As people shared their stories of support, resilience, and understanding, the hope emerged that tragedy could lead to growth and positive change, ensuring that Milton's legacy would not be forgotten, but serve as a catalyst for a more compassionate future.